everyone, it's Seth Rudetsky here on Seth Speaks, and I'm very excited to have my guest because I'm gonna say she's a scholar. I'm gonna say she's an Israeli scholar and belter. It's Noa Tishby. Hi, Noah.
Hi, Seth. How you doing, darling? I
I'm
like
so
being called a
good.
scholar. It's probably, it's my favorite one.
Well, I'm reading your first book, which I want to just say is called Israel. Wait, what's it called?
It's called Israel, a simple guide to the most misunderstood country on earth. But you can also just call it Israel by Noa Tishby. People know.
Yeah, which I'm loving, and it's just already like all I want to do is like copy and paste these pages. Like there's something at the beginning where just like page 10 or something where all these things that are said about Israel are rebuked by you with facts. And I guess that's the first thing I want to say because I was want to
Cunning,
promote.
the cunning use of facts. Like we're
That's the whole
reviewing
thing.
things with the cunning use of facts. Where, just it seems like it doesn't get as much respect as we would want to these days. People just
Well,
can say whatever they want.
of course that started mainly in 2016. But let me first say, the new book is called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Jew. And it's
Mm-hmm.
you and Emmanuel, I want to say
Acho.
Acho.
Yeah,
And then you. So he asks the questions, you get the answers. But just going back for a second, the first thing I want to just sort of put an overview on is the whole thing about facts. Because can't someone say, no, that's not true? Here's what actually happened. Like, how, that's my problem. I feel like people keep arguing with me and like, I don't know enough facts. So how can I say what you're saying is a fact?
Well, because the book came out a couple of years ago and has not been refuted by anybody. Because when
Amazing.
you look at facts, you should not go to TikTok. When you're thinking about what the facts are, you should go to history books, actual books that were written by actual scholars. And that is something that doesn't happen. So when people talk about Israel as a colonialist state, an ethnic cleansing state, a genocide committing state, the facts are not, they don't support that. So it's factually not true. So that's what I try to do in my work. I am not a historian, but I only look at those facts. I only look back to what actually went down and what actually happened. And in the world that we live in today, especially with social media, it's insane. You see the demonstrations all over America. You see people are saying hands off Iran as if I don't even understand what you see on TikTok, people like discovering Osama bin Laden and figuring out, he had some really good thought. No, Osama bin Laden is a jihadist that wanted to create a caliphate. That's who he is.
He was
He's
a
going up.
terrorist.
I don't even want to use the word terrorist anymore. You know why?
Why?
Because on TikTok, a lot of kids, bless their hearts, as we say in the South, were like, well, one man's terrorist is another man's like freedom fighter. It's insane.
I know
So
what
it's
you
like,
mean.
all right, fine. Lay off the word terrorists if you're thinking that some of these idiots are freedom fighters. Fine. Jihadism. Can we agree that jihadism is bad? That a holy war to the death unless you convert to Islam or revert, as they like to call it. Can we agree that that's bad? And if we can't, and if some of these people would like to say that no, jihadism is fine, then the conversation is pretty much over.
I think that's a really valid point that if it's not being argued what you say in the book, then they are facts. But I guess I do think it's very important to talk about the fact that there's so much misinformation on TikTok right now. But I guess my question is, why then, over the last, since 1948, but obviously before, why are there quote unquote two sides constantly about Israel if they're really these kind of clear facts that it's not a colonialist state, it's quote unquote not genocide? Why is there so much arguing saying no, but it is because?
Look, this is a very long answer that I have to give you on this because the thing is this. So there are a lot of to unpack there with the question. First of all, after the Holocaust, it became very clear that the Jewish people need a safe place. Otherwise, periodically for thousands of years, for 2,000 of years of diaspora, we have been persecuted, killed, pogromed, massacred, slaughtered, marginalized. You pick your poison, right? So the Jewish people have always been through for 2,000 years after the destruction of the second Israel, essentially, were in the diaspora. Israel was colonized then by other entities. So from anybody from the Crusaders to the Mamluks to the whatever, the Byzantines, the Alexander the Great, on and on until the Ottomans for 400 years, and then the Brits. from 1917 to 1948. And when people are calling for decolonize like Israel, but they're calling from 1948, they're literally asking for it to be recolonized by Great Britain, which is what it was before 1948. So, and those are the facts. Now, here's the other thing, right? When you talk about the Jews being colonialists in Israel, you are negating the indigenuity of the Jewish people to the state of Israel. I mean, we're called Jews because we are from Judea. It's literally that is what that is. And in 74 AD, after the great Jewish-Roman War, the Romans took over that land, which was a Jewish state at the time, and they renamed it. And instead of keeping the name Judea, they wanted to disconnect the name Jews to the land, right? They wanted to disconnect the connection between the Jews to their state, their country, and they renamed it Palestinia, Syria. They invented the word Palestinians. There was no Palestinian identity, and Israel didn't take over from Palestine, from a Palestinian state. There was never a Palestine. That is something that is so difficult for people to hear, okay? That there has never been a Palestine. Not that there shouldn't be, but there just factually never been. Palestine was in reference to a geographical location that started in the Mediterranean Sea and went up north all the way to Syria and Iraq in the east and down to Egypt, right? It was a region. It wasn't a country or a nation or a people. And that is a new entity that emerged in 1964 as a resistance to Israel. So when people today say, well, Jesus was Palestinian and Israel took Palestine, and I'm like, that's just not true. And to say that the Jews are not indigenous to the land is insanity. It's like you can be a religious person that believes in either the Old Testament or the New Testament or the Quran, by the way, which the Quran talks about the Jews going back to Israel, or you can be a scholar that is a complete atheist and just believes in archaeology. Either way, the Jews are indigenous to Israel. So that with the conversation right now, and they're talking about, well, the Jews took Palestine, and it's just not factually true. It just isn't.
Okay, first of all, A, you're so knowledgeable. B, your version of English as a second language, I've never heard anyone more fluent. Okay, literally. C, this is an uncomfortable conversation. That's the name of your book, Uncomfortable Conversations with the Jew. Because Noah, what many people are facing right now, like me, how do you stay a super, super progressive person on the left and deal with the harassment and, really just harassment, and I don't have the facts to back it up when people are screaming at me this information? How do you stay progressive? So I'm hoping this book is gonna help us.
It's not only that you stay progressive, is that Zionism is one of the most successful progressive movements in the world. So not only is supporting Israel and being a progressive, not only is it not mutually exclusive, it's literally the only way to go. If you're a progressive person, then the only country that you need to stand by in the region is Israel. And
Why?
here's the thing. Being against Israeli government or Bibi Netanyahu or Israeli policies or politics, that is not anti-Zionism, and that is democracy. That's great. There's no problem doing that, okay? Mm-hmm. But demanding that Israel cease to exist by all means necessary, which is what we're seeing on college campuses now, is anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic. Okay. So there's no problem. Look, if it's hard to have a conversation with somebody if you don't have the facts. This is why I wrote my first book, to give people the way to have these conversations, because I would have a lot of friends, Jews and non-Jews, come up to me and say, listen, I love Israel. I support Israel. Like, I don't think I intuitively know that what is told about Israel is a lie, but I just don't know what to say. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll try to help, because it's a lot of details and a lot of information. So to have these conversations, you first have to be willing to have these conversations and then have to know your facts. But what these activists or so-called activists are doing today is supporting a terrorist, jihadi, psychotic organization that is against human rights, against freedom, against democracy, against men, women, children, gays, anybody, anything that we hold dear. And they don't understand that. They think they're doing the right thing. They think they're speaking truth to power. Israel has no intention of taking over the Middle East or the world or anything. Iran does. They do. And they're activating.
Well, not Iran. It's the government of Iran.
Of course, it's not the people of Iran. It's the
Yes.
Republic Islamic of Iran, the Islamic
Yes.
Republic of Iran, the government of Iran. The Iranian people themselves have been trying to tell us for years that they're being oppressed. And
Yes.
activists on social media and pro Hamas activists, they don't support them. Stop bashing Israel and start calling first for responsible leadership on the Palestinian people, because they haven't had one in decades. And second, call for the dismantlement of jihadi regimes around the world, not the single consistent democracy in the region.
So, no, what am I going to do when I get letters from people that are like, why are you having this right-wing Israeli supporter that, hates non-Jews on your show? What am I supposed to say to them?
It's adorable because when people say that, I'm like, show me a place in which I have been a right-wing hater of humans. Show me a place. Quote me. People
Okay.
are so uncomfortable hearing a liberal like me, right, who came up from a very progressive background, that's saying you are all wrong. You are all wrong. When it comes to Israel and the Middle East, they are on the wrong side of history. And not only am I not apologetic about this, I'm leaning into this full force, because this is something that we all need to address. If we are a liberal and a progressive, you kind of need to look at yourself right now and figure out that all these BLM and Women's March have been infiltrated by radicals, not the good side, the bad side.
Right.
And
Because
they're
there are good radicals, of course. Like
of
that's what,
course,
Dr. Martin
listen,
Luther King.
of
Yes.
course. Listen, this is why I was talking about Zionism is being a progressive movement. It was literally a movement that was designed to progress Jews from persecution, from discrimination, from Holocaust pogroms, to progress them into self-determination in their ancestral land. And it became so successful that people are turning against it now, which when they do, it is literally old anti-Semitic tropes rehashed.
Yeah.
You take out the word Jew, you insert the word Zionist, and ta-da,
Yeah.
it's completely whitewashed. So let me give you an example, right? In the olden days, people used to say, these Jews, right? They indiscriminatorily slaughter Christian children in order to use their blood for matzah, right?
Blood libel.
It's a blood libel. Nobody would say that, right? But that caused bloodshed, millions of Jews throughout history, right? But what they say today is the Zionists or Israel is indiscriminatorily slaughtering Palestinian children,
Yeah.
which is another blood libel.
By the way,
It
more than indiscriminately, they say they're actually targeting the children to prevent the
targeting,
next generation.
intentional, like the Christians were saying at the time that the
Yeah.
Jews were intentional. So what I'm saying is this is that double standard, this obsession and demonization of Israel that is factually not true. Israel is the only country in the world that was attacked on October 7th and recently by Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the war that she's waging as a defensive war turned into a genocide. How did it turn into a genocide? It's a war that was waged on Israel. It's a war that was waged by a jihadi organization that is paid for by Iran. So
And
that's what
Russia.
I'm saying. It's very difficult to see because people think that the Israelis are horrible to the Palestinians, and that's just it. And because we believe now that the Israelis are just horrible to the Palestinians, Israel shouldn't exist. And Israel is the only country in the world that her existence is being questioned.
Mhm.
And it happens to be a Jewish country. And I don't think that's an accident.
Oh my, you're so well spoken. I can't take it. So let me ask you something. Do I, if
A
I'm on a
little
budget,
passionate about this, just
no,
a
but I
little bit.
love it. You're so smart. If I'm on a budget, am I supposed to get the Israel book or the Uncomfortable Conversations with a Jew, or should I just really be getting both books because they're amazing side by side books?
I think they're complementary books to each other. You can't ask me to choose between both my books. This is
Okay.
terrible.
What was I
Anybody has a
thinking?
problem with a budget, DM me on Instagram and we'll send them a book.
A, I love you. B, is there an audiobook in case I want to just hear, and who's narrating it?
Yes, there is audiobook for both. I'm narrating the first one myself, and
Yes.
Emmanuel and I are narrating the second.
I love
So
that.
yeah, there's
Okay.
audiobook and people really enjoy it.
Third question, because this is going to air on the Broadway channel. Within your book, I've never seen more Broadway references. First of all, I played Grease on Broadway for 3 years. I did not know that was your favorite show in the world.
Oh my God, I love that. I'm obsessed. My training as a performer started with musical theater. This is what and when you get a little further down the book, I talk about that a little bit more in detail. Um, Yeah, that's my I did Anita and like the
I
National Theater
no,
of
I saw that you were Indian West Side. So my question is, okay, wait. What kind of dancing was in that show? Because you can't be like, oh, I took some dance lessons.
dancing, Anita dancing, West Side Story dancing, like
So
the real deal.
what is with the talent level? Okay, so no, just because I know you love Greece so much, I'm going to share a story with you because I did the show for so many years that I think you'll appreciate. I think you'll love this. So there were things I can do. We all love that song, right? When
There
the show
were
was,
things I can do.
listen to
And
that
go
voice.
or
Um,
two.
they were going to literally cut the song, if you could believe this. They were
What?
going to,
Why?
yeah,
How?
because the audience did not like it. So they're in previews and they're like, we have to acknowledge the audience doesn't like this song. Even though we love it, we have to cut it. And someone during previews was talking to the director and said, when Rizzo thinks she's pregnant, um, no one really seems to care. All of her friends don't care. So they rewrote the scene before there were things I could do. And when she says she thinks she's pregnant, they all say, hey, do you need us to lend you some money? What can we do to help? And as soon as that happened, as soon as the friends cared, but Rizzo was shut down, the audience cared. Literally, that's all it took. And the song brought down the house. It was literally the setup for the song.
He's got goosebumps. Oh my God. You just described such an incredible moment in storytelling. And in storytelling and in how humanity, I talk about that at the end of the book as well. Like words don't exist in order to create to describe. Let me say that again clearly. Words don't exist in order to describe our world. They exist in order to create our world. If you create a picture for a person, and that's what they have. And that's what you did there. And listen, that's what I try to do in my work.
It's interesting. It's sort of the opposite of Lashon Hara, but it's like, which Jews believe that just putting bad words into the world
Yeah,
makes
and,
things
and
worse.
people believe that. Listen, the concept of Israel being a genocide state seems to be true. It's like an intuitive truth for a lot of people in the world where literally, I'll give you an example, and then I wanted to say something about Greece as well.
Mhm.
When I talk about the ethnic cleansing, okay, for example, about
That people
Israel,
are accusing Israel of.
not even accusing, they just think it's true. Like to them, it's just like that's just what Israel's doing, right? And again, they don't understand that they have this suspicion and subconscious bias against the Jews, which makes it make sense that Israel would do something like that because,
Mm.
Jews, right? So when you say to them stuff like, yeah, but at the beginning of the state in 1948, there were 160,000 Arab Israeli Palestinians living inside of Israel, and now they're 2.1 million. So that's the worst ethnically cleansing state in the world. They just like their brain goes, bzz. They can't wrap their heads around it. But that's the truth. But Israel has been the subject of a well-funded campaign of smear that is designed to take it down. It's designed to hurt
Yeah.
legitimization of Israel as a Jewish state. And it's been infiltrated by billions of dollars in America on
Right.
campuses and in media. And we haven't noticed that. I mean, some of us have, but it's been going on for like 30 years and it worked beyond their expectations.
I mean, it's the Nazi big lie technique. It's like if you say something enough, it's true. And
Enough times.
haven't
Yes.
you know haven't we learned that from the last election? It's like, or the last two elections, when you just keep repeating something, people keep going, well, there must be some part of
Something to do
truth.
it. Yes, they
Yeah.
must be something to it. And if you hear that Israel is the big bad wolf and you have this like, well, the Jews control the blah, 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 right? Then you would tend to believe that and believe that quickly.
Okay, this is why people have to buy this book.
Hang on,
Conversations.
before the book, and I want to go back to the book, but I have to say something funny about Greece just to
Yes.
complete that thought. Um, a couple of months ago, we showed Greece to my son, who's 8, and the 3 kids, my girlfriend, 3 kids are like teens, early teens, and 8 as well. They didn't get it. They didn't get it on such a profound level.
What?
When you watch it as an adult, you're like, they're kind of like my teen daughter of my friend was like, I don't understand what's happening there though. So she is changing who she is in order to be liked by a guy. And we're like, oh yeah, you're right.
Oh no,
That's
it's the worst message in the world.
so
Oh,
what?
100%. You have to dress like a
So
tramp. Oh, it's terrible, but it's so enjoyable. And I think
music. It's all about the music.
it is about the music.
It really is the music in that the story is crap. Let's get real here, but the music is just amazing.
Oh, every song is great, but no, it's the worst moral in the world.
Mhm. Right,
In
let's go back to
conclusion,
the book.
in conclusion, everybody get the first book, Israel, but especially the newest book, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Jew. It's Emmanuel Acho and Noa Tishby, and like follow Noah on Instagram and also DM her because everybody loves her. Okay, thank you so much. Actually, Noah, don't you have recordings out when you were in Israel, didn't you?
I went to Israel in December and January to bear witness to see what happened.
No, 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 no. What I was saying is when you were
Oh,
younger, didn't you have like a pop song released? Am I crazy?
oh yeah, and albums as like a #1 recording.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna close. So this is Noa Tishby. I know she's a historian or her historian, but let's have a cut of one of Noah's albums to show that she actually has the chops. Peace out and hit it.
If you wanna be my anthem, if you wanna be the one that's in my dreams, yeah, yeah. If you wanna be my anthem, if you wanna be my fish, you gotta swim. Yeah, you gotta swim.